Hello and welcome back. This is Greg French. Today we're going to be talking about the installation of FreeNAS in our VM vSphere. This is going to be a nested lab using the vSphere ESXi hypervisors 5.5, and this is lab number 3 of 9 labs that we're going to be going through. This will be the installation of the FreeNAS, which will provide our shared storage. A little bit about FreeNAS. FreeNAS is a network attached storage software. It's open source, so it's free. Solution based on the FreeBSD operating system. FreeNAS can provide NFS shared volumes for VMware VMs. Now this is going to be for a Unix operating system because the hypervisor, the ESXi, rides on top of Linux. So we're going to be using Linux or Unix NFS shared volumes. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we finished up last time by installing the hypervisor, the ESXi 5.5, and we assigned an IP address to it of 192.168.1.70. This picture here is logging in using the vSphere client. When you log in using the vSphere client using this IP address, you get this screen. Next thing we're going to do is begin to install our VMs. So we're going to right click on 192.168.1.70. We'll get this screen. This window opens up. We're going to go ahead and create a new virtual machine. So we'll click on this top one. This is going to be a custom. We're going to go from typical to custom because we're going to make some changes. So we'll click on custom. In this box up here, we're going to put a name in FreeNAS so that we can identify this. We have one data store that we can select from. So we're going to select from this data store in order to create a data store for this VM. So go ahead and click on that data store. It's the only one there. We're going to select version 8 by default because it's an ESXi 5.5, so we need to select version 8, and that's by default. I'm going to go ahead and select other, and then at this down arrow we're going to find FreeBSD 64-bit. So I want to select that because this is FreeNAS actually runs on this operating system, FreeBSD 64-bit. We're going to select only one CPU or one core is all this needs. What's nice too is we only have to select 1 gigabyte of RAM, so the memory size doesn't have to be that large. And we're going to select 1 NIC. This by default is going to be selected for the LSI logic parallel. Next screen, going to create the new virtual disk. Okay, this is by default. Go to the next one. Here we're going to go ahead and leave, I think, the default 8 gigabytes of disk storage space. And we're going to use what's called thin provision. Now, thin provision will keep us from provisioning this full 8 gigabytes. If we use thick up here, it would go ahead and allocate the full 8 gigabytes. By using thin, we're only going to be using as much as we need, so it'll grow up to the 8. But we're going to find we probably need a couple of gigs to install this, so that's what we're going to go with. The SCSI virtual device node by default is selected. Now we see a kind of a summary of everything that we've selected, and this information, you can review it and then select finished or next. And we have a new virtual machine, and the new virtual machine is named FreeNAS. Now we need to go ahead and inside this new virtual machine called FreeNAS actually install FreeNAS. So what we're going to do next is we're going to disconnect our ISO image, and not disconnect, correct that. And we're going to connect our ISO image on our local disk, and this ISO image is it's on my laptop. It's an ISO image that I've already downloaded, and it's called FreeNAS 8.3.2. I'm using this instead of the 9.1 again to save a little bit of RAM space. So I'm going to select this. This ISO image is what we're going to be using to install FreeNAS into this virtual machine called FreeNAS. So I'm going to open that. I'm also going to open a console. So if you right click on FreeNAS, you get that window again. And I'm going to go ahead and open up a console. And this console will allow me to watch the installation of FreeNAS. We're going to go back up as this console is opened. We're going to select VM up here, come down to guest, and then come over to send Control-Alt-Delete. And we send Control-Alt-Delete, that'll reboot our VM. And when it reboots, it'll be able to select the ISO for booting and installing the FreeNAS. So FreeNAS is starting. It's booting from the ISO, and it's installing FreeNAS into this VMware environment. You get to this screen, install upgrade. You click OK. You get to this screen here. It's going to say choose destination media. This virtual disk, you only have the one, so you select that. That's going to be OK. Warning, this will erase all the partitions on this data. FreeNAS, again, will take completely over whatever device or drive you give to it. We're only giving it a virtual device of only 8 gigabytes, so we've limited to a virtual hard drive. FreeNAS installation on day 1 succeeded. Please remove the cd-rom and reboot. Okay, here's where we need to remove this cd-rom or this ISO file, because otherwise it'll try to install it a second time when we reboot. So we come up here, this little cd-rom and tool here, click on it, you'll see cd-rom drive 1, and then you will disconnect. Well, instead of connecting what we did the first time, we're going to disconnect this, and then select OK. FreeNAS boots again, and now we get a screen, and if you have a DHCP server, it will go ahead and assign an IP address. This one assigned 19. I'm going to change that to 72. In order to change that, I have to come up here to the network, configure network interface, select 1, and I have to go through several steps until where I can select a new IP address. I put the new IP address in, and I put in a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, and complete that, and we'll get our new IP address. And the new IP address is 192.168.1.72. And 72 is what I'm going to have to try to remember in order to be able to log into my FreeNAS. So I want to take that number and I want to put it into the URL of Chrome. And my web browser will take me to FreeNAS, and I configure it using my web browser. So by clicking OK, we log into FreeNAS using that URL or IP address. And this is the screen that you see here. First thing we need to do in this screen is we're going to create a new volume out of that second out of a second hard drive that we've connected to FreeNAS. We're going to select volumes, and volumes will open up, and we'll come down here to the volume manager. Select volume manager, and should get a screen showing the volume manager. Problem is, when you select the volume manager and you don't get a volume, if you just get a blank for a volume, what you'll have to do at this point is go to back to the this vSphere client, go to the FreeNAS, select FreeNAS or click on it, and select Edit Settings, because we're going to have to add a second hard drive to the FreeNAS in order to have another virtual hard drive that we can use to provide shared storage to our other devices. So go ahead and select Edit Settings. We'll go back into the editing here. We're going to go up here and select Add, because we're going to add a new device. That new device is going to be a new hard drive. So the type of device is going to be hard drive. Select that. Create new virtual hard drive. We're going to select, we have to get enough space here for at least a couple of virtual devices. So I'm going to select 40. And again, I'm going to go thin provision. Thin will allow it to grow to 40, but it will not allocate all that space in the beginning. And again, it's going to be the virtual device using the SCSI. And this is the information. Go ahead and select OK. And you can see down here we're adding a new disk. By adding that new disk, now when we go to Virtual Manager, instead of this being blank, we actually see our new disk here. Our new disk now is available to FreeNAS to create our shared volume or our shared storage. Go ahead and up in the top here type in FreeNAS as our volume name. Select this volume. Select the UFS file type. By selecting this, we can limit the amount of RAM that we're going to need. There's a lot of features that are available with the ZFS, but we don't need to use those features right now. Plus, it would take a lot more RAM than what we have available. Then go ahead down here and just select Add Volume. Selecting that, it'll start the Volume Manager, and it'll be configuring that volume as shared storage. Next thing we need to do under volumes, you'll see that we have a new mount here, FreeNAS, and we need to go into change permissions. What we want to do is just check all these two rights are under group and other, so that anything connecting to this will have full rights, full read-write privileges. Go ahead and select change. Next, we're going to add an NFS share. This is a Unix environment, so we're going to be adding a Unix NFS share. So click on that. And this window, the only thing you need to worry about is coming down here to the path. You can type in that /mount/ FreeNSS, or you can come down here and select mount. FreeNAS will show up, and just select on these two, and that'll automatically fill that in. Once you have that path in there, and that's the only thing that's important, go ahead and click change or next, and it's going to say, would you like to enable the service? And you select yes, and you'll see that NFS service has been turned on, and now we have a shared volume or shared storage that we can utilize with our other VMs. And to prove that, we can go ahead and attach our shared storage to the FreeNAS as a second storage here. We just go up here and select Add Storage. This storage is going to be a network file system, or NFS. That's what we've selected. And we need to type in here the number to that server. And the number to the server is 192.168.1. It's not 70, it's 72. If we type in 70, we're not going to connect. It has to be 72. And then we're going to use the folder mount FreeNAS, and then I'm just going to give it a name down here that I'll recognize, NFS, for that file type, and then dash FreeNAS. And again, this needs to be 72, not 70. And here I've corrected it, and I'll run through. And once you finish that, you'll see we have a new shared storage down here called NFS FreeNAS. And this is what we're going to be using as we create more VMs, because the VMs that are going to be running under vSphere for high availability, or HA or DRS, is going to need shared storage in order to be able to migrate those VMs from one host to another. Well, that's it for now. Next will be the volume, or Lab 4, and that'll be the installing of the nested ESXi's or hypervisors. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you next time.